Hello, my name is Randy Reed. I'm the publisher and editor of the Edison Report, a sponsor of the National Lighting Bureau's annual Lighting Forum. We're here at the studios of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, where I'm serving as the moderator of 5 panel discussions. This discussion, Illuminating the Future Part 1, and this panel will focus on power over the Ethernet, or PoE, and distributed DC current. The panelists include Lisa Isaacson of NuLEDs and Michael Boyle with Philips Lighting. Welcome. And Michael, the first question comes to you. What exactly is PoE, and why do we need DC current? Haven't things gone well with AC current for generations?
Okay, Randy. PoE stands for Power over Ethernet, and basically it is a new technology that allows both devices to be powered and receive communication over communication type cabling. It's a DC system. You asked why go to DC when AC has served us so well. When transmitting power great distances, AC is preferable, and that's because you can actually step the voltage up to a high level and easily convert it down to lower levels. By stepping the voltage up to a high level, you reduce losses on the line. That's why it's preferred for long distances. But in today's world, there are many devices that actually use DC power instead of AC power, most electronics, which means that you now need to convert the AC to DC at the point of use. This results in many, many converters, the wall wart types or other devices that consume power just by doing the conversion. So on a small scale or in a built structure, it makes some sense to, instead of converting at each point of use, convert at one point and then use that DC power to power those devices.
Okay, thank you. So Lisa, how does PoE compare to low voltage lighting?
Well, it is a form of low voltage lighting, but it couples low voltage lighting with communication over the same cable, over the same network cable. One of the beautiful things about power over Ethernet is it's ubiquitous, so it's everywhere. Anywhere you go in the world, you have the same power levels, the same current levels for PoE. PoE actually distributes at about 48 to 52 volts DC, slightly higher than a lot of other low voltage DC systems are. So it kind of improves with your voltage drop losses over the cable. But basically being able to have all the network control brought onto that same cable it's a real benefit over a standard low voltage DC distributed system.
Okay. Mike, do we need to be concerned with safety issues with PoE?
Well, the PoE is a low voltage, and actually the values for voltage are within the standard regulations where it's not considered a risk of shock. Also, it's considered a Class 2 power system, which means that it really is not considered a risk of fire. So it's actually very safe compared to AC distribution.
So who would install this, the contractor or the IT guy?
Both. The power switch itself is actually connected to the main, so typically you would have a contractor needing to make that connection, and typically luminaires and other devices are also installed by a contractor. The cabling can be installed by the contractor, or it can be installed by an IT person.
Please.
Yeah, so we've done several installations where we are working with both the low voltage and the line voltage, with the line voltage guys installing the fixtures themselves and then the low voltage pulling in the cabling. It's nice if it all comes under the same contractor, so I encourage electrical contractors to really start bringing on IT and RCDD certified low voltage cable installers into the mix, because it is nice to all have one person, one company responsible for the installation.
Michael?
And actually there have been changes in the National Electrical Code to recognize PoE systems. So it is an advantage now for the contractors. They have clear guidance on selecting cable sizes and so forth. And it's clear that the low voltage luminaires and power switch are able to be used together.
So could I assume that if I'm a contractor working on a building, my labor costs would be less if I'm putting in PoE? Can I draw that conclusion or not?
So I would say that the installed cost is less expensive. The labor is less expensive. The hardware is a little more expensive. It's kind of a new technology still, so we do have that margin. Overall installed costs are about the same, I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
And I think one of the advantages, going back to safety, is actually the later repair or retrofitting of the luminaires, because the voltage level is considered safe and the fire risk is addressed. You don't need to have a lot of concern about going into the luminaire and changing things out. In the current technologies, the traditional lamp sources and line voltage, that's gone towards interlocks and other devices that are necessary to protect the worker. Here, it actually the system itself protects the worker.
Please.
And on the subject of safety, Power over Ethernet serves as its own internal breaker system. So you can't overpower, you can't overdraw. If you have a short circuit situation, it's going to automatically trip the port, which means the port's going to power off immediately. So it's safe for human, you can't get shocked off it, as well as for infrastructure, because you can't have a short circuit situation.
What benefits does PoE provide with the IoT?
So it's on the network. It can communicate with other devices on the network. I think creating a system, and PoE is a great platform for this, because all these different systems can ride on a PoE communication protocol. So being able to communicate with other devices, like for example, security badge scanners. When you scan in, you can have that interface with the lights, and you can also gather data from the sensors. So it's kind of a two-way communication between the lighting system and the building infrastructure.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, the great advantage is that it is all self-contained. In more traditional technologies, you run power circuits and control circuits, sometimes together, sometimes separately. Here you have both combined into one cable. And it's adaptable with many different types of devices, cameras, sensors, and anything really that can talk to the Ethernet.
What are you seeing on a global basis as far as acceptance goes?
Well, actually, on a global basis, the IEC, the International Electrical Technical Commission, has been looking at PoE. One of the barriers at this point was the fact that the luminaire standard didn't allow an RJ45 connector as an input to a luminaire, and that's being corrected now. There are proposals into the standards to allow that connection. And actually, the base standards for the Internet switches are IEC standards. 6950 is the standard now that applies, and there's a new version, 62386, that's going to be coming out very shortly, allowing increased power levels.
Lisa, what kind of response are you seeing from lighting companies?
It's been very interesting. The lighting companies, we've had several approaches. We have several lighting fixture manufacturer partners. They see it's coming, they know it's coming, and so they're positioning themselves in a way to be able to provide power over Ethernet solution.
Is anybody fighting you or fighting the technology?
Actually, there's been very little pushback from any entity or any trade. Everybody just kind of, even from the very beginning, kind of, oh, this makes sense. It's and been pretty acceptable that this is the change that's coming.
I'm always intrigued by new players in the industry that seem to come and go. What is Cisco's role in all this?
Cisco was, I think, the first network company to actually bring this to fruition. We've been working with Cisco since day one in the IoT lighting space, and they see, of course, they sell more ports, so they've really helped to drive the public knowledge of switching. So initially, Cisco did kind of more internal marketing through the IT space, and then they went and pushed into the lighting space. So now most people in lighting are familiar with Power over Ethernet lighting, and I attribute a lot of that to Cisco.
Control obviously is very important. Do you foresee apps being written and people will control them from their phone? Office lighting?
I think there already are apps written and software available for the systems. So I see that becoming very, very popular.
Yeah, I also see it interfacing with other systems within a building, like security or just using the sensors and then having a notification push to your phone that some environmental thing has happened within a building.
PoE is sold to traditional lighting channels?
So we've had a mix. In the beginning, it was all done through kind of direct sales. As the lighting companies have come on board, we've seen a shift. Now we're going through typical distribution, typical manufacturers, web agencies. So it is kind of shifted towards the traditional channels.
Yes, we've seen the same. We've actually we've enabled most of our luminaires to accept PoE inputs, and they're available through the usual chains of distribution.
And when orders come in, is it because a lighting designer has specified it, or did the luminaire manufacturer specify it? Who's doing the real work out there?
Typically, it would be an engineer or a specifier, a lighting designer, or so forth. The luminaire manufacturer would actually provide it, but they typically won't be specifying it.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been brought into a lot of projects through the IT side, through our installation partners, as well as more recently, it's been a lot more through the fixture manufacturing and traditional lighting channels.
Okay. Closing comment?
Well, I think PoE is a new technology. It has a lot of value and a lot of potential, and I'm looking forward to the next few years. I think it'll really be catching on.
Okay. Lisa?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's been a very exciting time in lighting. I think that we've finally reached a point where LEDs are efficient enough and PoE power is strong enough where the two actually have met with this perfect storm. And I think the lighting industry has kind of been waiting for what's the next change in lighting, where we're going to end up at. I really see Power over Ethernet as answering all of these questions.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Okay.